Hey folks, those of you who are starting to make your earbud case might also want to know how to make hinges in monoshape, or even how to design for hinges. How do you decide sizes, dimensions, things like that? Like a lot of concept sketches, you might just have like a circle sketched out somewhere and say, oh, this is where the hinge is going to be. If you look at the examples, there are some very intentionally dimensioned parts on each of these pieces here. And so, first things first, I've put together like the box shape and the lid shape, and this is sort of how I arranged them when I made them. I put the box down here and the lid up top so I can kind of imagine it being open like that. But this bottom part, I made the box, I extruded it to be 3D, I got the fillets on, I put a little rectangle right here where it said to, and it's got all this information here. That's how I built it. It said, hey, this rectangle is 19.5 millimeters up, it's 3 millimeters high, I go over 20 millimeters, and it's 15 millimeters across. That's sort of how you put that down. That's how you give it dimension, that's how you locate it, and so that's really cool. But now I gotta think about this hinge in the back. And so look at the back, look there are the hinges. It's not just sort of a cylinder slapped on. You've got like a cutout here. The cylinder itself doesn't seem to really line up, does it? If you look at the dimensions, like you can tell it's given right here. Let's see. Over here it tells you how far down this cutout is in the back. It tells you the width right here. If you look at it, it's 55 across, and then there's a 10 and a 10, two 10 millimeter measurements on the outer edges. So what's left in the middle should be 35 here. So this cutout in the back is 35 millimeters across and 2.5 millimeters high. And then all the measurements for the hinge themselves, like it tells me a radius 2.5 millimeters. That means diameter is 5. It tells me that this little spherical chunk right here, radius is 1.5. That means the diameter is 3. So like right here, you've got that little spherical part, and it's centered and everything. And it also tells me the center of these circles here, that's a 0.5 millimeter over and up from where you'd find the corner of this actual feature. Okay, so let's get started. Let's make this cutout first. And so I'm going to move around so I can see the back of it. And the one I've been using to make these rectangles, center point rectangles, I can put the center vertical directly above that origin because I've centered everything else on the origin. So that means like if I make this the correct width, and I'm going to make it also coincident on the top there, if I make it the correct width, which would have been 35, then I don't have to worry about also dimensioning how far away this edge is from the far edge and things like that. Alright, the height said was 2.5, and there's that. Now, when I'm going to cut it out, I'm going to use an extrude. I'm going to say out to remove, and instead of blind, you have this really neat feature. You can change it to up to next or up to face, and then you can pick a face to go to. And that way, let's say I go back and I say, oh man, I forgot, I need to change the thickness of this back wall. If I were to change that to be 4 millimeters instead of 3 millimeters, and I just changed that, I would end up having something like, having this cutout not go all the way through it. I have to go and change this cut too. If I called it like 3 millimeters, I'd have to go back and call it 4 millimeters. But now I've told it to the face, it's going to go to that face every time, even if I change how wide that back wall is. Alright, so there's that cutout right there. And looking at the hinge over here, you're going to actually wind up having a cutout on here, well, two cutouts that kind of match up. And they're not going to be exact. The interesting thing is this hinge right here is 34, but the gap we built for it's 35. And that'll leave about 0.5 millimeter on either side of it, just for clearance, you know, because that way it's not going to be so tight that it won't rotate because of friction. Okay, let's build the hinges. Now, some people had like a fillet on the back corner of theirs when they went to make this hinge, and so I said, oh, you can start it on the back inside face right here. Let's do that. Let's make a sketch on this face here. I'm going to sort of reorient to that. Nope, not that way. Oh, darn. Left, turn it over, turn it to this corner. There we go. Let's look at it from this angle and slightly tilt up. Okay. On that face right there, I'll put a sketch. I want a circle. And remember, I'm not sticking it centered exactly on that corner, I'm going to go a little bit over and up. And I'm getting a 5mm hinge. Now, the dimensions that I've been sort of thought about and decided on, you can always play around with yours and see if you like the look of it, if it looks like it's in the right spot, if it looks like it's going to be enough space. And there it is. I'm going to dimension the center by going 0.5 mm. If I click on the center and then click on like that vertical line there, I can tell that I want it to be a 0.5 mm over. If I click on the center and then click on this top edge, I can tell that I want it to be a 0.5 mm above. And there's that circle. I'm going to go extrude that. I'm going to call it add. Uh-oh, why is it? Oh, I see why. Because I have to go and choose the face. It's trying to add it and there's nothing to add it to. Let me tell it to go to the face. I'm going to tell it to go to this face. I got to click there so I can click the face. There you go. My son just wandered in and almost distracted me while I was trying to do this. There we go. That works. That's exactly where I want that hinge part to go. Alright. Now you could do the same thing on the other side, but let's hold off on that a second. Let me do the little spherical protrusion here as well. Remember the radius of that was 1.5. So how do you make a sphere? I've had this conversation in class before because we're talking about revolves, and folks would try, like, for example, let me make a little circle here. To make a revolve, you need something to revolve, and you need like a line to revolve it around. So if I were to make, no, undo, that's not how I wanted to do it. Let's do a line that goes just from this side to this side. That's horizontal. Let me move it so it's also centered. And that might be centered. Here, I'll put a midpoint. I'll make it centered. Here we go. Let's put a midpoint on it. That's the thing to do. And then we can grab the midpoint, and if we pull it up on top of that center... Oh, come on. I forget how I did this originally in class. There we go. I need these guys to be coincident. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So let's say I want to revolve this guy. Maybe I can do it if I turn this into a construction line. Let me try that. Alright, I'm going to save that sketch real quick and just try this. Revolve it. And I'm going to take the axis that's going right there. I want it to go full, and oh, it's not doing it because it's self-intersecting. Yeah, so I can't, oh, because I go around twice. What if I told it to go 180 degrees? Oh, not full. One direction, 180. It still tells me it's self-intersecting, so yeah, that isn't going to work. But let's turn this back into a... Turn this back into not a construction line. There we go. If I do a revolve, but I only pick half of it, and I revolve it around that guy, then it'll make a full spherical thing. Okay, so that's just showing you something that I've done in class at least once or twice. And, come on, alright. There we go. I need this. I'm going to make a sketch on it. I'm going to make a half a circle. So, easiest way to make a half a circle sketch in a scenario like this is to grab your line segment tool and just make the line first. I'm going to just make a vertical line over here, and I'm going to go ahead and stick a point on it. That's going to make a midpoint. And then if I drag that midpoint a little bit over, it'll snap to the center of the circle, and then all I got to do is dimension it. I'll tell it needs to be 3 millimeters. There we go. And now I can make an arc, a center point arc. You may have to, it's usually this one automatically. Go down to center point arc and click that guy. You click on your center, you click on one of the endpoints, you click on the other one of your endpoints, and it's got an arc perfectly positioned exactly where you want it to be. Check mark, click that, revolve it, click the axis to be that guy, and look full. It's okay, it's just going to add what it can add. If it intersects itself and you chose an add, that's fine. If you chose new, it might be mags. No, it's not. Well, hey, there you go. It's fine. It worked just fine. Now, when I originally made this, the model that I used and printed, I actually did the same basic thing on the other side. But what you can do is you can grab like your mirror tool right here, and you can pick a part to mirror, and I want my mirror here, my bottom piece here to be symmetrical. I'm going to pick the plane, and when I drew this, I made it so that the front plane was going right through it because I centered it on the origin. So let's pick the front plane, and then it copies everything I just made, the extra stuff I added, over there. Pair of hinges. Alright, now don't fall into the trap of like, okay, I've got to make this exactly the same above here. If you look again, remember this is only 34 millimeters over here. And so that's, yeah. Alright, so from here to here is 44 millimeters. That cutout is 5.5, because that's 38.5, and that's 5. That'll make 43.5 total. So let's get, oh, hold on. I think I did the wrong dimension on it then. Let's take a look at this sketch. Where is it? Alright, this sketch here perhaps? Sketch 6? Yeah. Alright, there it is. I made it 41. It's supposed to be 44 altogether. I'll make it 44 altogether. There we go. And then I can make 2 cutouts on either side. So let's make a sketch on the back. And I'm going to do two rectangles. I'm going to use normal corner rectangles this time, just so I can put one here. And it's going to be, let's see, 34. So instead of being like 10 millimeters and 10 millimeters, it's going to be 10.5. It says right there, cool, 10.5. So it's 10.5 wide, 10.5. And it says that it's 5 this way, so then another ½ millimeter, 5.5 then. And it's very close to 5.5 already, 5.5. Alright, gonna make another one exactly the same over here. 10.5 and 5.5. There we go, check mark that. I'm gonna grab those 2 little rectangles and I'm gonna extrude or remove. I'm gonna tell it to go to face, and it's gonna face this face. Okay. Now because of the direction I've put this thing, when I look at my dimensions over here, I'm gonna sort of have to think of everything sort of upside down and spun around. This is kind of the hinges at the top of this, so the hinges at the top here. Imagine it being sort of inverted completely. So if you notice, the hinge center is over a little bit, and so it's back a little bit, and presumably away a little bit too, about ½ millimeter in each direction. Yep, it's ½ millimeter right here, and ½ millimeter right there. So it's ½ millimeter towards the top of the top, and it's ½ millimeter towards the back of the top. And again, you got the same 2 radii, which is nice, so you don't have to worry about that. That should be the same 2 radii. And the only difference with this is it's a cutout spherical part instead of a added spherical part. So let's do that real quick. On this surface right here, I'm going to sketch a circle. And instead of like hitting exactly the corner, I'm going to move over a little bit, call it a 5 millimeter. I'm going to, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see. If I'm thinking about how this is kind of upside down, this hinges to the bottom side. So the bottom side is going to be this way. So let's move it over a little bit. It's going to be in here. And it's going to be ½ millimeter in both directions. So the center to this edge is a ½ millimeter. And the center to this edge is a ½ millimeter. Alright. I'm going to extrude that all the way to the other face on the other side, and that'll match that up nicely. Okay, let's do a slice out of here. So I'll do a sketch over here that starts with that vertical line like I did below on the other one, and I'm going to put a little point in the middle of it. And I'm going to go grab that point and slide it to be concentric, and I'm going to dimension it to be 3 millimeters And then I'm going to put an arc that's got a center point and 2 endpoints. And then we will take the revolve tool, we'll make it a remove, and we'll click on this guy and that'll scoop it out. Now when I tried mirroring it earlier, it doesn't mirror cutouts. I think it just mirrors things you've added on. I'm not sure if that's always the case or if there's a setting that I'm missing out on. I don't know. But for me, it's fairly simple just to redraw the same thing over here and do it again. Make it vertical, put a point in the middle, dimension it. Where's the dimension? There it is, 3 millimeters. And slide. All right. Put my arc to there to there. It really doesn't matter which side it goes on because you're going to be cutting it out. So let's revolve to cut around this center line, and that's that. So that's Hinges. Really cool. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to do a quick video about putting an assembly together, and I will talk to you all again soon. Have a good one.